just to succeed. There is a drawing about control function of management. Control function of management. I would ask you to go study that drawing and how to interpret and apply it. The diagram of control function of management. Study that diagram, how to draw it, and how to interpret and apply it. When it comes to conflict resolution, there is a chart called the Hersey-Blanchard Situational Leadership Theory Chart. Let me type that in the chat box. Hersey-Blanchard. Situational Leadership Theory Chart. I've typed that in the chat box. So you need to know how to apply this chart in conflict resolution. So that chart is like a square that has 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So study it, understand it, and understand how to apply it in the process of conflict resolution. You will be required to know the steps in the HR management process, human resource management process. You'll be required to know the steps involved in that process. So you list the steps in the human resource management process. Okay. Still under that chapter on human resource management.
There's nothing on the chatbot, Mus.
It's there.
Some of us can access the chatbot. So.
Well, it's there. It's on the chat. Okay, okay, let me post it on WhatsApp.
Yes.
There it is on WhatsApp. Okay, so I've posted it on the WhatsApp. Okay. Now, also in under the chapter on human resource recruitment, whatever, you will be required to define the recruitment process. So once you've defined it, there are 2 forms of the recruitment process. You will be required to explain them. Explain the 2 forms of the recruitment process. Yeah, then in terms of skills development, in one of those chapters, we talked about the skills development legislation, where we talked about the various laws that pertain to skills development and other things. You will need to list the main acts associated with this system. So those acts are laws that have been codified. They are like an act of parliament. They've been codified. And there are a number of them we mentioned when we were talking about the skills development legislation. So we will require you to mention some of the acts, acts as in ACTS, that are associated with the system. Okay. And I talked about skills development legislation. So you have that in the WhatsApp. Organizations provide training to employees. When we were discussing that in one of the chapters, we talked about the phases of the training process. So we will need you to mention the different phases of the training process within an organization. The phases of the training process within an organization. We also talked about employment relations and relationships in the workplace. We would require you to know the advantages of maintaining a sound employment relations. The advantages of a sound employment relations. And then in one of the slides, we have a sketch of what you call a tripartite relationship in the context of employment relations. The tripartite relationship where you have the employee, the employer, and maybe the union or something, or the government, employee, employer, government. So that triangle that talks about the tripartite relationship. Go and learn that drawing of the tripartite relationship in the context of employment relations. So that drawing that shows the tripartite relationship, you need to study it. Conflict resolution in the workplace. You need to be able to tell the common causes of conflicts in the workplace, especially during team formation. You've had to form teams for your next assignment, and some of you already are in conflicts, having conflicts within your groups. Project that to the workplace and understand some of the common causes of conflicts during team formation. What would be the advantages of teamwork in an organization? So I've talked about causes of conflict, advantages of teamwork, and the stages of team formation. Advantages of teamwork, causes of conflict, stages of team formation. They are all within the same chapter. Advantages of teamwork, conflict during team formation, stages of team formation. Okay, then there is the chapter on total quality management. Total quality management. The last time we were in class, I told you to study the Pareto chart. I projected it on the board. I posted it on the WhatsApp group. So go back and study the chart and how it relates to total quality management. So you need to know the different types of quality improvement tools. There are about 7 of them. You should be able to list all 7 of them and be in a position to explain any one of them in detail. We're talking about the quality management tools. Under that chapter of total quality management, there is also something called the voice of the customer. Voice of the customer. And there is a chart that illustrates the steps that are needed to develop the voice of a customer. Go and master that chart that illustrates the steps needed to develop a voice of a customer. Voice of a customer chart. You will find this under the chapter on total quality management, especially as it relates to quality function deployment or QFD. Okay, so that is the scope that I have for you. And as you can see, without this scope, you guys are heading for failure because you'll have to read very, very widely. But with this scope, it narrows down your reading, makes it more focused. And if you study the scope that I've given you, you focus on it with razor sharp focus, there's no reason not to get a distinction in the test. So this is almost like giving you the questions, which normally I shouldn't do, but I don't want you guys to fail. Okay, are there any questions or concerns?
So when are we writing?
September 13, it's a Saturday.
And the marks.
What does the timetable say? What does the timetable say, the semester timetable? That's the one we follow for when you write.
We have a timetable. So, what about the marks?
One question at a time. The semester timetable, semester test timetable, when does it say you guys are writing?
So you're writing on the 13th.
Yeah, so it's the 13th and it's a Saturday. That's when you're writing. What was the other question? About the marks? 100%, 100 marks. 100 marks, 100%.
Sir, when are we getting feedback about the first test?
Very soon. Once I'm ready, I will let you guys know. The reason it's taking a bit of time, you know, there are too many of you and it's just me. I don't have an assistant to help me with marking. And I also have other subjects. And I'm not just marking, I'm also teaching. I'm also setting exam question papers. I'm also marking the test for other subjects, so it's a bit slow because I have to do this alone. That's why it's taking a bit of time, but just be patient. I will let you guys have it as soon as it's ready. Next question. Okay. If there are no other questions, let's come back to the lecture. So I'm going to end this recording for the scope.